that?
Well, if you look at his background, his family background, his father and grandfather were John Birch Society supporters. Either his grandfather or great-grandfather actually owned a gold mine. He understands gold. He understands it is money, it's hard money that cannot bankrupt. And he also understands that fiat currencies can bankrupt. So I think that's the angle that he's looking at it from, is that the foundation itself, the fiat currencies, they're not a solid foundation. So for him to say the golden age of America, I think he fully understands it's a fiscal disaster, and in some way, shape, or form, our currency is going to have to be tied, and I'm not saying convertible with, but tied to or ratio backed by gold.
So dissect that out for us, Bill. So when you say that, educate the public because there are many people that take that different way. So tell us specifically how you think this plays out.
I suspect, and I think it's kind of forced, if you will, by the BRICS saying that they are going to back their currency, whatever, I think they're going to call it the unit, or that's what it's called now. They're going to back their currency anywhere from 20 to 40% with gold. And I think the U.S. is going to be forced to do the same thing. The only problem is we don't have that much gold. We've only got, even assuming that we have all the gold that we say we have, and there's not been an audit since 1956, assuming that all of that gold is there and all of that gold is unencumbered, it's only about $800 billion in today's terms. So you're going to have a much higher gold price in order for it to even back money supply, much less back the debt that's outstanding. But again, it won't be convertible. You're not going to be able to present dollars to the Treasury and receive gold. Every government that's ever done that in history, the gold gets drained, and the country itself, fiscally or financially, they fail because the gold gets converted from currency into gold, and that gold is withdrawn.
So I dug up a tweet from President Trump. This is from July 30th, 2013, 11 and a half years ago. Trump is known by many people as a pretty good negotiator, if not great negotiator. Here's what he tweeted out. Quote, "The golden rule of negotiating. He who has the gold makes the rules." End quote.
There you have it.
So, Bill, if we look over the past 3-4 months, we've seen huge amounts of gold and silver, physical gold and physical silver, coming into the United States from London, from Switzerland, from Singapore. Many people are saying, well, the real reason why all this gold and silver is coming into the country from all these ports of call in the tonnage. I mean, the numbers are enormous. I don't know, maybe this number's off, but 2,000 tons of gold and 77 million ounces just in the past 4 weeks, in silver in the past 4 weeks, 77 million ounces just over the past 4 weeks. And for the 4 months, like a couple thousand tons of gold. There are people out there saying, Bill, well, this is all because of tariffs, about President Trump going to institute tariffs. Bill, I don't buy that. What's your take? You're the expert.
Yeah, I don't buy that at all either. I don't believe it's tariff related. It's tariffs have been used as an excuse. But let's just look at silver. Just this month alone, for March, the COMEX is getting close to requiring 80 million ounces to deliver. So what's happening is the buyers in the past that bought contracts and would just roll them over or let them expire, they're standing for delivery. So they've got to have the silver on hand, they've got to have the gold on hand to make the delivery. Now, in the case of gold, I think there's an additional reason that you could look at is if they know that they are going to reset the price of gold and that there's going to be a worldwide financial reset, what's happening is the U.S. basically is repatriating gold onshore, and it would not surprise me if some of this gold finds its way back into Fort Knox, back into West Point, because it's bled out the back door for the last 65, 70 years. So I think what they're doing is they're probably trying to get inventories. They're trying to get gold back into the vault so that if and when there is actually an audit, there will be gold there.
Now, Bill, President Trump was recently on Air Force One. You spoke about Fort Knox. We're supposed to have, at all our depositories combined for the United States, have what, 8,300 tons, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So President Trump was directly asked about, well, Fort Knox. I want to play this clip and get your take. Derek, hit it.
We're going to go into Fort Knox to make sure the gold is there.
Are they going to?
You know that we're going to go into Fort Knox. Do you know about that?
Sir,
That was a bad bump.
are they going to eliminate more national security positions, civilians there?
We'll see what happens. But one of the things we do want to look, I mean, we hope everything's fine with Fort Knox, but we're going to go to Fort Knox, the fabled Fort Knox, to make sure the gold is there.
Where would the gold have gone? Brought up.
If the gold isn't there, we're going to be very upset.
So he's kind of setting the playing field, I think. Remember, Bill, you and I discussed this. In the spring of 2018, he sent his then Treasury Secretary Mnuchin to Fort Knox. And Mnuchin went to Fort Knox. There were some reporters that didn't go in with him, but there was one photographer, I think. And he had been in the movie industry, in addition to being an alumnus of that benevolent, I use that term facetiously, Goldman Sachs entity on Wall Street. And he said, hey, wouldn't it make a great movie if I went in here and there wasn't any gold? Wouldn't that be something? And he goes in and somebody handed him a gold bar from one of the vaults, didn't go into any vaults. And he comes out an hour later and he said, quote, gold is good, right? Now, do you think, Bill, that Trump at that point had an idea that, you know what, they didn't show him really much of anything, never took him in the main vault. You think that's what he was alluding to on Air Force One when he said, well, I got to make sure it's there? What's your take of what he said on Air Force One?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely the case. And if as you quoted, Mnuchin said gold is good, he didn't say the gold is good.
No.
He just made a statement, gold is good, which of course is, I mean, that's correct. That doesn't shine any light on whether the gold, our gold, is actually there. But yeah, Trump understands this. Like I said, I mean, his family has followed gold for years and years. And you'd have to be brain dead to go through the years, I mean, the Gata years from 98, 99 to present, but especially the first 10 years of the century. Gata was all over the place saying that gold's being leased. Gold has been leaving Fort Knox. So yeah, Trump absolutely knows. Like I said, he'd have to be brain dead if he didn't, because he has an interest in gold.
So with this audit, and you brought this up earlier, but it bears repeating because I don't want to have people get misled. When this audit occurs, maybe I should be saying if this audit occurs, but I think it's probably at this point a when. When this audit occurs, it's more than just the metal in the vault, right? So that as you mentioned, there's this word encumbered. We have to make sure that the bar numbers are checked to make sure nobody else has a claim on those bars. And they need to be assayed because, well, you could have a bar that's coated in gold, but the whole middle, if you will, the old Snickers bar, is nothing but tungsten, not gold. So it's more than just, oh yeah, there's the look at it, look at all lined up in the look at that's all look at those, oh they're all, oh maybe go to the ceiling, these bars. Yeah, it's let's make sure that they're actually owned by the United States government, and two, let's make sure they're really gold and not something else. Am I off on that?
Yeah, no, absolutely correct. I think it's more likely that actual gold is encumbered rather than gold bars, being tungsten. But, 10, 15 years ago, there were tungsten 100 and 400 ounce bars floating all over the world. They were discovered back in, 2011, 12, 13. So yeah, they got to test to make sure the gold is real. But I think most importantly is who owns the gold. Has the ownership changed, but the gold not moved?
And the reason why Trump and those people around him believe, tell me if I'm off on this, why we're seeing, and you mentioned it earlier, we're seeing these huge amounts of gold coming into this country over the past 4 months is because the feeling is, and maybe they were sniffing around in the Denver vault, the other places we have gold, the West Point vault, the vault underneath Manhattan. There must have been some indication that what we say we have, we don't really quite have, right?
Right,
is that
exactly.
Fair? So then the question is, why all this silver? Why? No one ever claimed that there was silver in Fort Knox or West Point or Denver or underneath Manhattan in vaults. Why do you think all this silver's coming in? Do you think, could it be, Bill, that, well, maybe they're going to potentially back the dollar or claim it as a asset on the asset side of the ledger? And what's your take? Why all this silver?
I think in the immediacy, it's just because of the supply and demand situation. The supply is roughly, call it 800 million ounces per year produced, but yet 1.2 billion ounces has been the demand. We've had anywhere from a 300 to 400 million ounce deficit over the last 4 years. And like I said, the month of March, the COMEX looks like it's going to have to deliver about 80 million ounces just for the 1 month. Now, if they were to do that 12 months, that's more silver than the world produces. And the other thing is, silver's got so many different uses. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's money, but it's used for technology, for medicinal purposes. It's the best metal. It's the best metal conductor there is. So the demand has outstripped supply, and immediately they're going to have to deliver close to 80 million ounces just this month alone, which is 10% of global production.
And Bill, the way they've kept gold and silver prices, although they've escalated, subdued, is with criminal manipulation of what's not the physical markets, but the paper markets, correct? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, absolutely. What they do is they post a cash balance of X amount of dollars, and they can actually sell contracts anywhere between 10 and 100 times what of the amount that they post for collateral. And no silver is involved at all. All they're doing is selling a contract. And, the more they sell contracts, you're selling, and the price is going to be pushed down.
And Bill, you've always said the way that fraudulent system ends is a failure to deliver, that enough entities stand up and go, keep your paper, shove your paper, I want the real thing, give me the physical, correct?
Absolutely.
And Bill?
A lot of crap over the years for saying that, but I maintain that the end, the collapse of the system will be due to a failure to deliver something real. And I think the fuse to the whole weapon of mass financial destruction is going to be silver.
And Bill, in your career, is this the closest we've ever been to that based on what we see with these huge amounts of silver coming into our country?
Yeah, for sure. It looked like back in 2000, I think it was 2013, the potential was there. But, I mean, the potential is absolutely there now because both gold and silver are in structural deficit from a supply and demand standpoint.
And the very entities, the Bank of England, the London Bullion Exchange, that have been funneling, and J.P. Morgan Chase, that have been funneling physical silver into the system, their well's running dry, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah, their inventories have been decimated over the last, call it 8 weeks.
And is there any sign of this letting up?
I don't see it. If there is one, I've not seen it yet. It's day after day after day. There's more demand to get the metal delivered, and people are not rolling contracts over. And I mean, it's like blood in the water. It's starting to smell like there's going to be a failure to deliver. And as the blood spreads in the water, the sharks are just going to gobble it up.
So, Bill, you've been the expert calling on this for years, telling people what was coming. We're here. So tell us how, in our final 3-4 minutes here tell us how this plays out over the ensuing days, weeks. I don't even know, a month and a half, 2 months, I don't know. But how does this play out? Tell us what people are going to see.
Yeah, I can't tell you whether it'll be 2 weeks or, whether it's this cycle or the April delivery month or the May delivery month. But my suspicion is that silver will be the one that fails to deliver. The price will explode. Actually, what will happen is the market will close. Same thing will happen with gold. And what that basically means is trust, confidence will have been completely shattered. And literally within a 72-hour time period of a failure to deliver, I don't think markets will open around the world. Because everything runs on confidence, trust, whatever you want to call it. And that will have evaporated.
And adding a little fuel to the fire, China this past week says they plan to accelerate annual stockpiling of strategic commodities, of which they consider gold and silver part of those strategic commodities.
Right, which is exactly what Russia said, I believe, back in December. They threw a curveball to the world by specifically mentioning, they said commodities, but they specifically mentioned that they were going to stockpile silver, which was the first time any nation mentioned that. Now, like you said, China is saying the same thing.
And Bill, what do you say to all those people say, they'll just throw more of those fraudulent paper contracts at it to keep the prices fairly subdued, although they keep rising significantly. Gold's now over 3,000 an ounce if you try to buy physical, and silver's, depending on what you want to buy, $37, $38, $39 an ounce. What do you say to those people that say, they'll just keep throwing their fraudulent paper at it to kind of stem the tide? What do you say to those folks?
That's an easy one. You answer their question with a question, and this question was originally asked or formed by Jim Sinclair. It's a simple question. What is the value of a contract that cannot perform? And the answer is zero.
Yep. In our final minute and a half together, Bill, today, educate our listeners in how they can get more Bill Holter and how they can get in touch with you.
Oh, sure. You can go to my website. It's just billholter.com. There is a contact button there. I think it's got either my email or my phone number. And if you want to just contact me directly to my business email, it's